Hi there, and welcome to Philosophy and Understanding. My name is Michelle, and today we'll be discussing the components, similarities, and differences between two works. One by Arthur Schopenhauer on the sufferings of the world and on the vanity of existence, and two, Friedrich Nietzsche's on the genealogy of morality and the gay science. So to start off, we will discuss Schopenhauer. And Schopenhauer has two main themes that he develops and describes over the course of his writing. One is suffering, and suffering is the lack of good within evil things. When evil is real and we understand that things are out of our control, they will manifest themselves and can hurt our spirits. Then we can understand that we are suffering. This can be felt extremely severely, whereas happiness can sometimes feel not all too happy and not complete. We feel suffering on an intense level, whereas happiness is just considered normal to us. We tend to elevate our suffering and minimize our happiness. What Schopenhauer wants is for us to be aware of this phenomenon, to stay mindful of our feelings. As for his point of life is meaningless, that is the second one. Basically, he is describing that there is no creator, no special unique purpose in each of us, no divine individuality or source of being. We are all one, and we must renounce our individuality to reach a point of nirvana and bliss. Once we lose our individuality and accept that life is meaningless, then and only then can we be completely free of suffering, because then we won't feel it as deeply within ourselves. It'll be more of like, we're all in this together type of thing. Now, in regards to Friedrich Nietzsche, I also found 2 points that I found to be particularly helpful when describing his readings and his way of writing and thinking. So one of them, in his critique of morality, describes the origin of good, which is not necessarily what is bad or good, but what is considered moral and immoral. Through this, we can see how religion holds as a placement and decider of morality and has since the beginning of time and the beginning of human morality. This describes Nietzsche's idea on the individual and explains that your deeds are separate from you, that your identity, who you are personally, is not made up of your morals or how you go about things that you choose to go about. He does this to explain the differences between the herd and the noble and describe that neither are good nor bad, but that the way they go about fulfilling their drives are differently, since the noble can succeed and the herd is stifled in its success. Yet they both share the same needs and drives and wants. And then this goes into our second point, which is in regards to the noble and the herd. The noble is charged with a yes to myself because they are confident, aggressive, arrogant, and self-assured. They love themselves, and therefore they are able to exercise their drives. As for the herd, they are charged with, you are evil, no to you, towards the noble, through means of morality and by creating religion and morals, and you should be humble, and you should be giving, and you should be gracious and generous. Because of this, now the herd has instilled some power to themselves and over the nobles. So, when it comes to Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, there are a few concerns and questions that are brought up, because they both have a similar undertone, but are trying to describe different ways of suffering and how that ends up playing a role in our lives. So, for instance, Schopenhauer believes that we are here, we are suffering, and then we die. There is nothing after that, and the only way to help assist our suffering, help to make it at least a little better, is compassion for one another. Now, this goes against Schopenhauer in a way that Nietzsche describes, because what Nietzsche doesn't understand is why Schopenhauer is using compassion, which is a tool that was formed by religion as a means of the herd, in order to eliminate some of the suffering. And being that Schopenhauer is an atheist, Nietzsche sees it as being a contradiction to himself. As for Nietzsche, Nietzsche believes that there is meaning to this life, and that throwing away religion and the Christian doctrine and all of that isn't necessarily going to be helpful, because people need to know that there is a reason for their suffering, that it will pay off in some way. So what Nietzsche thinks is that we've dug ourselves in a hole this deep already. We cannot just strip it of everything and just be floating out in sea, not knowing what's going on. So Nietzsche is trying to explain things in a way that will keep it subtle and not shock society as much. Because if God is dead and taken away, what will help eliminate people's suffering at that point? Okay, thank you so much. My name is Michelle, and I'll see you next time on Philosophy and Understanding.